Older, jobless, and forced onto Social Security, the plight of an increasing number of American workers. I'm David Gillen reporting for Business Day Live. We'll also be talking with Nicole Perlroth about a security breach at the social networking company LinkedIn. And Gretchen Morgenson is here to walk us through the Spanish housing crisis. But first, I'm joined by Matoko Rich. Matoko, this is a story that if you're of a certain age is going to make your hair curl.
A little bit.
A little bit. You're writing that more and more people, post-recession, are being forced to take Social Security earlier. Can you give me an idea of the scope, how many people we're talking about here?
Right. Well, the Social Security Agency itself did an analysis, and they think that in 2009 and 2010, which of course were years of very high unemployment, about 200,000 extra people initially claimed retirement Social Security for the first time than they had expected in the absence of a recession. They think that's still continuing. They're having a little harder time quantifying that. But in the aftermath of the story running, my inbox is just flooded with people saying, this is exactly my story. This happened to me. This happened to my neighbor. This happened to my uncle.
You know, drawing Social Security early, I mean, it has huge lifetime financial repercussions. Can you walk me through that a little bit? Tell people how significant this is.
Right. So what Social Security does is they sort of have all these tables where they figure out on average how long people are going to live, and this is how much money you're eligible for over the course of your retirement span. And then they divide that up by yearly and monthly payments. So if you take your Social Security early, which in this case is at 62, which is the first year you're eligible to take it, that's 4 years earlier than the current retirement age, then you're going to take a cut of something like 20 to 30% in your monthly payments. So that's a huge difference.
It's huge. Now, we've been reading a lot about how older people are obviously living longer, wanting to work longer. How much of this is wrapped up in the fact that a lot of people who are a bit older, lost jobs and just can't find them now? That's
precisely what's happening, because I think the overarching trend is that if you have a job and you're an older worker and you think, I need to save more money for retirement, my home equity is diminished from 2006, you're probably going to, and you're living longer, you're feeling good, and for your self-esteem and all kinds of reasons you're working longer. But a lot of people did lose their jobs during the recession, and for older workers, it's much more difficult to get a job after you lose a job. So although younger workers have been laid off in higher numbers, once laid off, older workers have a much more difficult time getting that, and that shows up in the statistics, like the average duration of unemployment for an older worker is something like 34 weeks compared to 22 weeks overall.
I mean, this is just the classic, I'm older, I'm out of work, and I'm overqualified. I'm sure a lot of people are hearing that.
I've heard that many times, and also that they're trying all kinds of different ways to get around which they perceive as probably realistically age discrimination. So they're changing their resumes to emphasize their skills rather than their years of experience, but after a while there's just no way to hide that. And so, the woman that I profiled, Claire Cleany, she was applying for things like, concierge at Marriott, having had 30 years of experience as an executive assistant. So I think this is happening all over the country.
Wow, Matoko, thanks. Watch this one.
All right, thanks a lot, David.
And LinkedIn is the online social networking site aimed at professionals. It makes its money by collecting and sharing data. So when hackers stole more than 6 million customer passwords from the site, it was surprising to security experts. The surprise wasn't that it had been hacked, but how light LinkedIn's security was. Nicole Perlroth is joining me from San Francisco. Good morning, Nicole.
Hi, David.
This is just the latest breach with big data. But holy cow, this is a company that makes money off my data, collecting it and so on. And I don't know. I mean, I read this and was very surprised that it seemed to have taken such a light approach to their security. But do we know right now how the hackers actually hacked LinkedIn? What do we know about that?
We don't know how they got in. We don't know how long they've been in. We don't even know if they're still in. So last week, most of the advice from LinkedIn was change your password across multiple sites, because hackers don't hack LinkedIn to get into LinkedIn. They hack your password on LinkedIn to hack into other sites like your brokerage account and other scarier places where your financial information is stored. But the question is, without knowing how they got in or how long they've been in or whether they're even still in, does this even make any difference?
Right. You brought up a really great point, and I think this is what a lot of people just want to know immediately. I mean, what do I have to do? What's LinkedIn telling me I should do now?
You should change your password to LinkedIn as a precautionary measure, although it's not clear what that will do if hackers are still in the system. The most important thing here is to, unfortunately, come up with different passwords for different sites.
So I have to keep track of all my passwords now.
A LinkedIn password is only so valuable because people do use the same password across multiple sites.
Right. Now, security experts seem to be saying that, in some ways, LinkedIn is sort of gambling a bit with their security here. But the big issue, and yet you write about, and it's a really good point, that there seem to be very few consequences, if companies have lousy security.
It's true.
For the companies, at least.
See people getting off Facebook or getting off LinkedIn because of a breach.
Right.
By the way, also eHarmony and another CBS music site, lastfm.com, were also breached last week. So it's not just LinkedIn.
Right.
But right. I mean, it's no surprise that LinkedIn was hacked. It's a surprise that they didn't do more to mask passwords. And most companies that have sort of some kind of security prowess these days will mask passwords with various degrees of security measures. And LinkedIn and these other sites were clearly only doing the bare basics.
Right. Now, to be clear, there are no legal repercussions for this, for LinkedIn, right?
No, there aren't. There was a case now 3 years ago where RockU, another network, was breached, and I think they had 30 million passwords stolen, and they hadn't done anything to protect those passwords. And I think they ultimately paid a fine, but it was a small fine, and it's not as if people left RockU in droves.
All right. Hey, Nicole, this is not the first. I'm sure it's not going to be the last. Thanks very much.
Bye. Thanks, David.
And over the weekend, leaders in Europe approved a multi-billion-dollar aid package for Spain. That money is designed to keep Spanish banks afloat. And what's at the root of the economic crisis in Spain, though, is in many ways similar to what caused the financial meltdown here back in 2008. Earlier, my colleague Louise Story spoke with reporter Gretchen Morgenson about the situation.
Spain is kind of an interesting hybrid, Louise. It's the housing crisis that we experienced in the U.S. combined with a sovereign debt crisis, the likes of which we've seen in Greece. In Spain, they had a massively overbuilt real estate sector, way beyond what we had in this country as far as a bubble is concerned. And yet they do not have the tools, they do not have the policy tools to resolve it in the way that we did here in this country. Because they are in the Eurozone, they cannot print money, they can't monetize their debt in the same way that, say, the United States was able to do.
And the housing bubble in Spain, was it caused by the same practices as the housing bubble here, predatory subprime lending, or was it caused by different things in Spain?
I think there was just generally more enthusiasm for home ownership there. I think there was a lot of second home building going on, attracting many people across Europe to go and have a second home in Spain. So it wasn't quite as dominated by predatory lending. Now you also have the problem of the banks being very heavily exposed to real estate, to construction. And so, the bad loans that these banks have on their balance sheets, almost 40% of them are either real estate services, or construction.
What aspects of the Greek problems do we see in Spain?
Well, Spain is, for starters, a far, far larger economy than Greece. And so from that standpoint, it's a much bigger crisis, much bigger problem. It's the 12th largest economy in the world, where Greece is the 35th largest.
And so basically the choices for Spain are to leave the Eurozone and deal with this themselves and have more powers themselves, or for all of Europe to help them out.
I don't think leaving the Eurozone is really in the cards for Spain, because it is such a much larger economy. Spain is kind of a line in the sand for solutions to this problem, and if you don't resolve the Spanish situation in a way that's really constructive, that you'll then have a domino effect. If Spain really goes in some ugly way, that will then, push down the line to Italy. All the world market participants are watching very closely to make sure that this one is not just allowed to kind of twist in the wind as Greece was.
That's all for today, but stay with us online at nytimes.com for our continuing coverage of this and other stories. I'm David Gillen, reporting for Business Day Live. Thanks for watching.